It is the first video episode of the Smooth Burrito, the video burrito, the first one. Not that shit that we recorded last time. That didn't count.
Yeah,
Mostly because it didn't work. That's why it didn't count. I'm
no one
Frank.
will ever see it, and I'm Trevor.
Yeah, no one. That's never making it out of the vaults, the Disney vaults. Mostly because I think I deleted the video portion of the file already.
Uh,
So if you, the viewer, want to see me at really low resolution, it's down there in the YouTube settings because I ain't uploading that shit.
and me in completely out of sync,
Yeah,
100%, just so
my
bad.
frame rate was like. Anyway, how you been, Trev? You been playing anything cool?
Yeah, I have, man. I've been playing a lot of Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. Uh, wow, that might be one of the best looking games I've ever played in my entire life, PC, console included. Um, I'm just like really surprised at the quality of just everything. It was like I would like turned it on as like a Pixar movie. It was like nothing I had like played before, so I thought that was really cool. Bravo to them. Also, props to Insomniac for putting out two launch titles on the PS5. Um, while we're still waiting on like the majority of Sony's studios to put out their first one. So
Nice.
good game. It's really fun. I'm pretty close to finishing it. I'm not quite done with it yet. Been trying to go through and platinum it, and I typically play the Ratchet games on harder difficulty because I find the normal to be a little bit too easy. Um, so I've just been taking my time with it, enjoying it.
That's rad. I might have to check that game out. Especially since that's super high praise.
Yeah,
But
I love it. Yeah, it's probably my favorite game I've played this year so far.
nice.
And
I have.
I don't want to just gush about the graphics either because as a game it's really solid too. The story's great, the characters are great. Rivet is a new character and she's awesome. So yeah, I mean the game as a whole is really incredible.
Nice. I have been playing nothing that came out within the past decade, but I did play over the weekend some Street Fighter the movie, as always, with our bi-weekly. And I played some Ragnargard, which is a Neo Geo fighting game that got released and then not noticed when it came out. But yeah, that was fun. We had a little tournament, and good times were had by all.
I like good times, man.
Yeah,
You
good times are good. Why they call them
know?
that. Well, I think with that we can go ahead and get into some of our E3 coverage, since that's why we're here. Our inaugural video podcast is also an E3 recap. We were originally planning on doing a bunch of Twitch coverage that involved restreaming until E3 was like, if you restream, you'll get DMCA'd.
Yeah, there was a lot of big people that were getting in trouble or getting emails at the very least about, you know, um, doing like reaction streams and stuff to E3. So I didn't even really want to try to risk it, to be honest.
Yeah, it's really annoying too. Like, what's ostensibly just a press event that should be like open information for everyone to get, like, oh, you have to be an approved streaming partner, so IGN can go ahead and stream that shit, but we can't.
Yeah, I know, right? I mean,
But we saw a lot of good stuff regardless. Did you want to tackle this in chronological order by company, or did we want to talk about what we're most excited for first?
um, let's start with the bad. I want to get the bad out of the way because it just felt like since E3 was virtual this year that all the companies felt it was necessary to have a conference when it was completely unnecessary for them to do
Yeah,
so.
Capcom.
Um, Gearbox,
Yeah,
what a
what did Gearbox
disaster.
announce? We're currently making a Borderlands movie. You already knew that.
They had one game that they kept showing the same trailer for that was like an intermission trailer thing that they were using as like a transitional thing. I was like, why do you keep showing the same trailer? And then like half of the presentation was Pitchford on set for the Borderlands movie, and he like tried to get Kevin Hart on camera, and that was like the highlight of the conference because Kevin Hart kind of just does his thing whenever he gets on camera, and it's funny. And then
Yeah.
like the rest of it was just like a disaster. It was completely unnecessary to have it. I can't even really remember anything from it, to be honest. Like
Like I
nothing of
so I,
value.
l- I looked through a recap to refresh my memory, and I think that they announced that they are making a Borderlands movie, which we already knew. They announced stuff for Godfall, like DLC or
Yeah,
something,
yeah,
and then something to do with Tiny Tina that I think might be a DLC for Borderlands 3 or something. That's about it.
yeah. I think that's actually its own game, which actually looks kind of interesting. But
Oh,
that was already announced at Summer Games Fest, so
so it doesn't count.
yeah,
Capcom also had like a slate of non-announcements. They just said we're working on DLC for Resident Evil Village, and everything else that you already knew was being worked on is still being worked on. Thank you for coming to our TED Talk.
yeah. I saw a lot of people that were excited about the Capcom conference and then incredibly mad after it was over. So it's unfortunate, but that's one of those things. Square Enix conference was not great either. They showed Guardians of the Galaxy for like 20 of and then released a corrupted demo to everyone that no one could download in Final Fantasy Origins. So yeah, I mean, just wanted to get the bad ones out of the way before we got into the good stuff
But you're not
because I
excited for Avengers 2 Guardians of the Galaxy?
this is supposed to be like a single player game that the Avengers was, so at least there's that.
Yeah, what the
I
hell's
don't
going
know.
on?
I might play it, but we'll see. It looks
Yeah,
better than Avengers.
it does look better than Avengers. I like the part of it is because we don't really see any gameplay anymore in these trailers, especially for this E3. It feels like nobody had gameplay of anything aside from like Nintendo, which I do want to talk about Nintendo because they're possibly my favorite conference, but we'll get to that later. But like that Guardians game, I my brain keeps flip-flopping on it because on the one hand, um I want to have a good Guardians game exist, and this looks like it could be one. On the other hand, my brain just keeps going back to, oh, well, I'm super bored of the MCU, so why would I touch this? Because it's still
Yeah,
just that weird bootleg MCU feel, even though some of my friends said that they seem to be hewing closer to the comics, but like, it still feels like they're stand ins.
yeah, I agree with you there. Um, and I didn't really care too much for the character models either, to be honest. I just in true Square Enix fashion, I wasn't a fan of the Avengers character models that much either. So I mean, it is what it is. But the game looks like it could be. The game looks like it could be fun, so I might give it a shot. You
Yeah, you
know,
never know. Let's
the
see.
campaign for the Avengers was halfway decent.
Yeah, if they focus on it being a single player experience and not trying to make another SAS game, then it could be good. But if they try to do the same stuff with the end game of Avengers, or if they try to do the same stuff with the end game of Guardians of the post game that they did with that Avengers game, it's just not going to work.
Yeah, I agree with you for sure.
Let's see. Who else had like a bad conference? I think in terms of being overwhelming. I think in terms of being underwhelming, the Bethesda one definitely counts.
Well, Bethesda did the Microsoft thing, and I actually thought Microsoft and Xbox did the combined conference with Bethesda, and I actually thought that one was really, really good.
Yeah,
Um,
I like the Microsoft portion of it. I'm excited for the new Forza Horizon game. That's gonna be sick.
Dude, that game looks so good.
Oh yeah,
And it was kind of a surprise too. I wasn't expecting it since they're working on Fable. Uh, but yeah, that game looks incredible.
yeah, that game's gonna be cool. I think that Halo being free multiplayer might be interesting.
Yeah.
Especially with what we were talking about, what they should do with the COD series. It seems like 343, or is it still 343 who's making
Yeah,
that
it
thing?
is. Yeah.
Well, it seems like they're doing what we said COD should do, which is making it free to play multiplayer with the single player as a separate purchase. And I'm all for that because I don't really care about whatever the campaign story is going to be.
Yeah, I mean, Halo has a significantly better track record with their campaigns than Call of Duty, in my opinion. So there is some value there, especially for hardcore fans. But it's good that the multiplayer is free to play. I like that.
Yeah, especially because it allows me to get a feel for the game before I go and buy it. You know, kind of taking the place of a demo, essentially.
Right. I thought the little teaser that we got from Starfield was good. Like, there's a lot of little hidden things in that trailer. I wasn't expecting a gameplay reveal or
Nah,
anything, so I
neither was
wasn't
I.
like disappointed. I was just I thought it was cool that they announced a release date and um, had a trailer. I'll be if they actually hit the release date, but um, yeah, Starfield looks cool.
Yeah, that might be a day one purchase for me for the wrong reasons because it's been like they have described it as Skyrim in space, which of course they did.
Yeah,
It's the only game type they make, but that means that they're going to have a space game that's as buggy as Skyrim was at launch, and I really want to see that at this point.
I'll be interested to see how buggy it is now that they are not just Bethesda and they actually have like Microsoft money. Um, so yeah, I'll definitely be interested to see just how buggy it is, if it's more or less, or if it's like a little bit more polished than usual. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I should have prepared a chronologic list of like what actually got shown because a lot of the lesser, or I guess not lesser, a lot of the stuff that I'm not interested in has already kind of flown from my brain.
No, I know what you mean. They showed off the main highlights, obviously Halo Infinite, Forza Horizon, um, and then Starfield, right? But Microsoft had like I think the highlight of their show and the main thing that you really need to look at is Game Pass.
I was gonna say Jack Sparrow and Sea of Thieves.
Yeah, that was
That's the
so
main
incredible.
highlight.
Um, Game Pass in general, they showed 30 games in total, and 27 of them are coming to Game Pass. Uh, all of these big games that we're talking about, Forza and Halo, um, and Starfield and Elder Scrolls 6 when it comes, are coming to Game Pass. And then there was the big one they closed out with, which was a complete surprise, and that was Redfall, and that's being developed by Arcane.
That's the vampire
Um,
shooter, right?
yeah, it was just a cinematic trailer, which was the case for a lot of the stuff shown at Microsoft's press conference. But the tone and kind of like the characters and stuff, it seems really cool. I'm really excited about it, and I've liked just about every single game Arcane's made, so I imagine that one will be very good. And it's another exclusive from Microsoft, and the theme after the press conference, the theme after the press conference was that Microsoft had so many exclusives and it was so bad that none of these games were going to come to PlayStation. But like the whole time, the one big complaint from Microsoft that everyone's been yelling at them about has been the lack of
Yeah,
exclusives.
where's your
So now,
exclusives? Where's
so
Halo?
now they
Where's
have
this? Where's that?
exclusives. Now they have exclusives, and everybody's mad because they have exclusives. And I'm just like,
Also, that like a Microsoft exclusive these days means exclusive to Xbox and PC for the most
right. And
part.
that's kind of the case for Sony a little bit too. Their games just like they come out on PlayStation first and then PC way later. They're starting to put a lot of their games on PC. Horizon, Zero Dawn, and Days Gone and Death Stranding, they all just recently came to PC. So looks like Sony's kind of getting their games on PC as well. Um,
Yeah, I still
but
think that like if you want to play the most stuff, getting a PC is the best option. You might have to wait, but you'll have the biggest library available to you just due to that factor.
yeah, for sure.
But yeah, Microsoft, that Game Pass, I think, is going to be their main sales driver going forward because the amount of shit that you get for that monthly subscription is crazy. And
I know. It's overwhelming. If you open Game Pass and just look at it, you're just like, I how am I supposed to play this stuff?
I need to hop on that train. I haven't yet because like so do you need to do Game Pass? I'm not sure. I need to check. Do you need to do Game Pass through the Microsoft Store on Windows?
There's a Game Pass app on Windows. You just download it and you can subscribe through there and
Oh, nice.
download
So
the
I
games
might
from
not
there.
have to re-enable the Windows Store on my machine because I have it disabled
I
entirely.
don't I can't remember if I had to go to the Windows Store to download the app or not. I can't remember.
Yeah, that's some
But
research for me to do later. Externally from E3, but also got announced. Microsoft showed off Windows 11,
yeah, I saw that.
which
I
makes
haven't dug
the
into it.
start bar look more like the Mac dock, and that's cool. That's totally
Yeah, it's so awesome.
what I want out of my Windows is to look more like an OS that I don't use because I don't like how the UI is structured.
That's hilarious.
And I mean, you can move it back over to the left, and even if you couldn't, it wouldn't be the hugest deal. But yeah, I was just like, how could you make that move and without thinking I'm going to totally get savaged by every tech journalist who likes Apple in any sort of way ever?
Oh, I know, right? Um, yeah, Windows 11. It seems like Windows 10's been hanging around for quite a long time.
I'm honestly surprised they put a new number on it. I thought that they
Yeah,
were
me
going
too.
to
Just
call it
keep Windows
10X or
10.
whatever, but I
Yeah.
guess that went by the wayside. Probably because it again sounds like something that Apple would do.
Yeah, that's true.
How's that Apple podcast going?
How's that Apple podcast going? I don't think we ever started it.
Oh, now you can do that on video too.
Oh god. I've got my hands full, Frank. Too many podcasts, too many
Oh,
things to
dude, I
do.
know. There's just like way too much multimedia shit at this point that I need to
I
keep up
know.
with. I'm
Yeah.
launching another one, by the way.
Are you really?
Yeah, it's gonna be called Tech Hell, and it's going to be about um, I'd say instances where technology was misapplied in history to disastrous results.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I think it'll be pretty cool, and also just like some
Yeah.
news about like new ways that technology is being misapplied to fuck things up.
Right, right. That's cool, man. I'll have to give it a listen.
Yeah, I think it'll be rad. Um, but yeah, anything else from Microsoft? We didn't really talk about Forza Horizon 5 much.
They did. I felt like that was the game they showed like a ton of gameplay from. So yeah, that was probably the one I was the most excited about. Um, I also think that their fall is shaping out pretty nicely for this year. You know, they've got Halo Infinite, um, they've got Forza. Apparently Back for Blood is coming to Game Pass day one, which is pretty cool. So yeah, I mean, the main takeaway I had from this was uh, just the incredible value Game Pass is. Stalker 2 was also shown. I think it's like Stalker 2 Heart of Chernobyl or
Yeah,
something
yeah,
like
I
that.
remember the trailer for that. I
That
wasn't
that
sure
loo-
at first if it was Stalker or Metro.
it looks really cool. They
Yeah, it'll
showed
be
some
cool.
gameplay for that one too. But yeah, I think Game Pass was like the main showing here,
Yeah,
and it's like if you really think about it, you really kind of if you choose to go the PlayStation route, you're really kind of paying a premium or a tax of sorts to just play video games on your PlayStation at this
yeah.
point.
At this point, like Sony is not really like they haven't caught up to the you need to give a pile of free games to people thing yet. They're still in the if you have PlayStation Plus, you get rotating releases mindset.
And they're only
And
good sometimes. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And I think like Nintendo has that big pile of NES and SNES games, and I'm sure that they'll be adding other consoles to that you get with their online service. Microsoft has Game Pass. PlayStation needs to figure out what they're gonna do.
Yeah, they really do. I like Outriders recently was a game that I wanted to play and I had to buy it because like my friends were all playing it, and I had to buy it on PlayStation. But it was free on Game Pass. But it's just like it's one of those things where every time I see something that comes out on like Back for Blood, that's a game that I'm gonna want to play as
Yeah,
well,
same.
and it's on Game Pass. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah, and of course you're going to play it on like that platform because that allows you to play with PC players like me because I'm going to get that game on PC.
right, and it also you have lot more people playing it
Hmm.
as well because it's on Game Pass, and a ton of people have Game Pass. So a lot of people are going to be more willing to try it out. There's going to be a lot more people playing it. It's just I don't know. Sony does, like you're right. Sony really does need to figure out some sort of competitor to Game Pass, and PlayStation Now and PlayStation Plus. It's just not it.
I'd be interested to see like because obviously in America Game Pass is a big deal. I'd be interested to see a Japanese perspective on things and whether Xbox because like Xbox had no presence in Japan and has only started gaining one slightly, I'd say, with the advent of the Xbox Sex Series X mixed Xbox.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I mean, I think in Japan, it's still. I mean, Nintendo kind of rules the console uh, side of things over there, and then PlayStation and Xbox is just so far behind for in terms of relevance over in Japan right now. They just don't have a lot of Japanese games. I mean,
yeah.
Final Fantasy 16 is exclusive to the PlayStation. And so, I mean, it's Final Fantasy 7 remake exclusive to the PlayStation. It's like these Xbox needs to figure it out, man. You need the Final Fan you need the Final Fantasy games
If
on
both
your
companies
console,
just
dude.
got together and traded Game Pass for RPGs, everyone could have a good day, I guess. That's
I
totally
know.
not how it works. Don't quote me on
Nope.
that. Another thing, comparison point I'm interested in is actually between three games: Back for Blood, Left for Dead 3, which I'm sure that we have the Steam thing upcoming, if I'm not mistaken, and we should be hearing more from that, and this new vampire thing from Arcane, because they seem to, at least judging by the cinematic trailer, they seem to be kind of all aiming for that co-op horde shooter style
I'm
of
gonna
gameplay that was
add
popularized by Left 4 Dead.
I'm gonna add Rainbow Six Extraction, formerly known as Rainbow Six Quarantine, to that. Ubisoft announced that. That was another conference that I wasn't too big of a fan of, but they showed
Yeah.
off Rainbow Six Extraction. Like you said, it's the co-op horde type thing. It seems to be coming back and making a bit of a resurgence.
Yeah, I think that people are like I feel like Back for Blood was the catalyst. I don't maybe Arcane's been working on their game for longer and I just wasn't aware. But I feel like Back for Blood at least like booted Valve in the ass because it allowed them to realize, "Oh, hey, we did the original one of those kind of not really." Like BlackRock made Left for Dead and then got uh spun off into their own company or left or whatever happened there behind the scenes. But yeah, so that will be interesting. I have a weird enjoyment of when parallel ideas kind of come out at the same time because it allows you to see different ways of executing them. I also thought Battleborn versus Overwatch, even though those games are way less similar than the ones I'm talking about, but they came out around the same time and were all both hero focused and got compared a ton. I thought that that was an
Lawbreakers
interesting
too.
release. Lawbreakers as
Cliffy
well.
B's studio fucking got shut down because Overwatch was eating everybody's lunch.
That's how it works though. You always have the most notable one, the shitty one, or the one that does worse, not necessarily the one that's worse in quality, but the one that does worse, and then the forgotten one. I feel like that's how it always works. Um, but
Yeah.
yeah, so that'll be an interesting thing to see. Who else we got?
So this is I think we should just go right into Nintendo because that's
Yes.
the one I want to talk about the most. They announced so much shit, and it was by far the best showing at E3 this year. Um, the more I like sit back and think about it and take it all in, excuse me, the more I think Nintendo just kind of like blew it out of the park.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the only like The only thing that I think you could identify them as missing is the ever absent Switch Pro announcement, because we know from a supply chain basis at this point that they have to find something to replace that current model Switch, because you just can't get the hardware for it. Like, the Tegra 1 chips and some of the stuff that they need to make it are outdated and not made nearly as much as the Tegra 2 and 3 stuff. Or what Tegra number are they even up to? I'm not up on mobile processors.
I'm not
But
100% sure.
regardless, it feels like they should have announced something, and like there might be some sort of internal strife that's keeping that back.
You know, I actually mentioned this in one of my previous videos, and I almost think that the leaks are keeping Nintendo from announcing anything. I think when it leaks and it's like, this is what the Switch Pro is going to be, and everybody's expecting it at this exact time, Nintendo's just like, okay, we're not going to announce it yet. I mean,
Okay,
if
could be it.
you know, like, I think Nintendo, they've always like marched to the beat of their own drum, and they don't want it to be like, oh, this is being announced at this time, and then Nintendo has to come out and be like, okay, all the leaks were right. This is real. That's not how Nintendo rolls, right? Like they want to surprise people and they want to like control the narrative around the Switch Pro. Um, so I think it'll eventually just be an announcement dropped on like Twitter or some video or something at
Yeah, at
complete
this
random.
point, the only way they could actually surprise anyone is by doing a random drop, because every time they have a direct or a treehouse or anything, people assume it's going to be Switch Pro related in some fashion. I know a lot of people were disappointed not hearing news. I wasn't personally expecting any. Um, but let's talk about stuff that they did show. We have Kazuya and Smash. They let off with that, which I think is a pretty cool addition. I like how Smash, even though it's a non-traditional fighting game, to put it charitably, is now kind of the fighting game history thing, I guess.
Yeah. Um, I wasn't. I don't know. I'm not a huge. I know you're a much bigger fighting game fan. So Kazuya and Smash was like an okay, yeah, that's pretty cool. But not a huge announcement for me. But I thought it was cool the way they kicked it off. I was nervous because sometimes they go crazy and Smash reveals end up taking like 15, 20 minutes of a
Yeah,
direct. And I was like, "Oh, please don't let this be like half the direct." And it wasn't. It was short lived. It was nice. It was a good reveal. And then they moved on, which I thought was really cool.
yeah, they kept it succinct. I thought all the stuff with Kazuya throwing all the characters into the volcano
Yeah,
was funny. Nice reference to his story in Tekken. I was watching the Giant Bomb coverage, and I do wish that I lived in the alternate universe that Jeff Gerstmann thought up, where they were announcing that they were putting Ganon in Smash, or not in Smash, Ganon in Tekken 7,
and tech.
because I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah, that would be dope. Yeah, I
But
agree.
unfortunately, as of yet, we are not getting that. What we are getting is Metroid Dread, which is a
Yes,
game that I thought I was never going to see, ever.
I thought it was Metroid Dead. Am I right?
Did you blank out your camera on purpose when you said that?
Yeah,
we already got in-camera effects going on our first video podcast. This is great.
it was pretty cool, right? It
Yeah.
was pretty cool. I thought.
But yeah, that
Yeah,
game's gonna be rad. It's been in development for the past 15 years or whatever, I guess. Since it was announced as a DS sequel to Fusion and then subsequently canceled, so that I don't know, where was Metroid at that point? They were either on Metroid Prime 3 or they were getting ready for Other M.
yeah, I can't remember, man.
Neither can
That
I.
Dread was rumored and just like this thing people asked for. It was like this. It was basically like the Switch Pro now back then. It was like Metroid Dread. It was just like this thing that we expected and never got. And so when they announced it, like when they showed it at first, and like right when it popped up, I was like, "Holy, is this fucking Metroid Dread? Like, are they really gonna like?" I couldn't believe it. I was like shocked. And then the actual gameplay they showed, which was another thing I loved about Nintendo's Direct, was
Yeah, they
that there was
showed us the
actual
games.
fucking gameplay everywhere. like so many of these games actually had gameplay shown. Um, it looks great. I mean, it looks
Hmm.
incredible. It looks like a ton of fun, and the fact that it's coming out in October is just insane to me. They
Yeah,
landed a date on it. It's just a few months away. Wow.
I think the survival horror twist of it is going to be interesting. I liked Fusion for what they were able to do with the Sax, the evil Thomas that follows you in that game. But the thing about the Sax is that it, like, outside of a couple set pieces where it can follow you from there, and then either you find a hiding spot or it kills you, and then that's just the end of the encounter until the next set piece. It's not like a persistent threat. And I think that being able to do the persistent threat thing with the Emmy robots that they have in Dread is going to be an interesting layer on top of the standard Metroid gameplay. Um, I do want to kind of soapbox about the fact that we saw gameplay and all this Nintendo stuff. I am so tired of cinematic trailers. I don't know about you, but like they're all structured in the same way, and it doesn't matter what the subject matter is, but unless it's something that I'm actually looking forward to and super excited for, it just takes me out of like the reveal entirely. I think that like these game companies would be much better served by making a vertical slice of gameplay rather than a trailer. If that's possible. I understand that it might not be.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's hard to say, man. For me, I am tired of the cinematic trailers too. I don't like it when there's so many of them involved. But for Redfall, for example, when it's a reveal of a game, I really am interested. Like I appreciate the reveal of the game existing, right? And when a cinematic trailer is able to portray tone and the characters and kind of what the game is gonna, I don't know, feel like a little bit, then they're okay. But only do that once. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Don't show me another Redfall trailer, cinematic trailer next year or at the end of this year. Like, if you're gonna show it again, show gameplay next
Yeah,
time.
come with
Don't.
some information.
Yeah.
Even
Um.
like I remember back when they were doing Battlefront 1, the DICE remake, they had a trailer that was like developer focused, and I thought that was really interesting and another way to kind of see how the game's development was unfolding and see a little bit of gameplay even if it's not polished. And I would much rather have stuff like that than cinematic trailers. Like you said, like especially if they're going to do a second one. They should probably actually focus on the making of the game if they don't have the game.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
But
I think yeah, like I said, I think for reveals it's okay, but
yeah.
I also appreciate a reveal like the Metroid Dread reveal where it's like, here's a little bit of cinematic stuff, a fucking gameplay trailer, uh, a release date that's like a few months away.
Yeah.
And then even in the Treehouse Live, they showed like 15 minutes or something of the game being played. And it's just, that's what I want. That's
Yeah,
how
I
I
think
want a
that
game to be
Nintendo's doing it
revealed.
right. The Nintendo sandwich of like cinematic gameplay release date. Like I think that aside from just like a text announcement or something, I think that if I were Captain E3, the head of E3, Mr. E3,
Captain E3.
yeah, if I were Captain EO, I would totally make it so that that's what you have to show up with for every game. And if you don't, you just don't like you can say the name of the game, but you don't get to show a video.
You don't get to spend 5 minutes, you know,
Yeah,
with just basically a movie that's never going to happen in the actual
yeah,
game.
because the thing is, you can hire that out to literally anybody, and it has like aside from maybe story tone, if it's like a story heavy or a very character driven game, it's not to me going to convey any information about how the game actually plays. And I'm definitely a gameplay first type of person, so
Yeah.
that's I think why I don't like the cinematic trailers as much. But yeah, back to Metroid Dread. I am incredibly excited for that game in a way that like I wasn't expecting out of this E3. I was pretty cynical up to that point.
You know what's funny? I was writing down all the stuff that was happening in the Nintendo E3. Um, and I even right before the Metroid Dread thing happened, uh, I wrote a note and I was just like, okay, 12 minutes in, and not a lot really speaks to me specifically because they had Kazuya and Smash, Life is Strange collection, Worms. They had
That
Two
Worms
Point
good game
Campus.
looks like it could be fun.
Yeah, it could be fun. They had 2 Point Campus, Super Monkey Ball, which is cool. They have Mario Party Superstars, which okay. But at that point, I was like, okay, well, nothing huge yet, right? And then right after I wrote that down, like it was the Metroid Dread reveal, and I was just like, oh fuck yeah, that's awesome. Um, but after Metroid Dread, there was still a lot
Oh yeah.
that they announced. They showed off the stuff that's coming this summer, like Monster Hunter Stories 2 and Mario Golf. Super excited for both of
I'm sorry,
those.
you mean Monster Hunter Stories.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Mario Golf. I can't express how excited I am for Mario Golf.
Yeah, that game
I'm
looks
in.
like it'll be fun, especially the speed golf mode, because honestly, it takes away what I don't like about golf games, which is the slow pace of them.
Yeah, Mario Golf typically does take that away. Mario Golf is just like I remember. I put hundreds of hours into the 3DS game. So much Mario Golf. I could just get hooked. It's like one of those games where if like I just don't feel like playing anything, I will play Mario Golf.
It's a good,
You know what I mean?
like the actual game of golf. It's a good way to pass the time.
Yeah, it really is. And then WarioWare was another
Yes,
big surprise that got gameplay, a really cool trailer. Um, I was shocked that WarioWare got announced.
I was shocked that Wario spoke in full sentences.
Yeah, that was shocking.
That
That's a
was pretty
good point.
weird.
That's a good point, Frank. I did not think about that until just now when you said it. But yeah, that was another huge reveal. So like two huge reveals: Metroid Dread, WarioWare. We got an SMT5 release date and a ton of gameplay for it. We've seen a ton of like little snippets and cinematic stuff for SMT5 up to this point, but we got like a ton of gameplay at the direct. I thought it looks really really good. The art style and the story look really really good, and I can't wait to play that one. So we got Metroid Dread and SMT5 this fall, which is cool. And this is like a thing with Nintendo. It's like some years Nintendo will have like all their A tier IPs come out in one year, like 2017, where it was like Super Mario Odyssey and Breath of the Wild, and like you got a bunch of like the really top tier Nintendo games, and then you have some of the years where it's like I don't want to say B tier by saying that they're not as good, but B tier in like how they sell, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like Metroid Dread doesn't sell like Zelda and
No,
Mario, like WarioWare, SMT, those aren't going to sell like those, but those are some really, really good fucking IPs that haven't been properly revisited in a really, really long time. And they're both coming out this year, which is really cool. And then speaking of another one that hasn't been revisited in a long time, there's a remake for Advance Wars 1 plus
yes,
2.
there
That's
is. I am so fucking excited. I'm a little
also
iffy on the
coming
art
this year.
style. One of the things that like, especially Advance Wars 2, like that was some really good ass pixel art, and I don't know if I agree with changing it to 3D models. I understand that's cheaper to make probably in the long run. I also don't know, like I think it's cool that the CEO portraits are animated, but I don't necessarily think the new style art-wise is a move in the good direction because it seems a lot less detailed to accommodate that animation. But aside from that, Nintendo actually acknowledged that Advance Wars exists, which means between Advance Wars and Metroid Dread, I might get an F-Zero game sometime before I die.
Yeah, they really came. They really came out with like IPs that we thought weren't gonna come back
Yeah,
for
they
a really
really hit
long
me in the
time.
face with the old man special here.
Yeah, WarioWare, Advance Wars, Metroid Dread, like these are all things that I was convinced were not coming to us like to Switch anytime soon. And the thing about I like about Advance Wars 1 plus 2 is that it's the good games.
Yeah,
They're not making a new Advance Wars that has a chance to be bad. I know these are going to be good. Like
especially
you said,
like two. Like I Advance Wars 1 I never really touched because Black Hole Rising Like it's Black Hole Rising is one of those sequels that entirely supplants the gameplay of the original by doing it but better. At least in
Right.
my opinion. I do wonder if they have like how much of the two games are how much they're going to be fused because like I think realistically you could the only real new units in Black Hole Rising versus the original Advance Wars are Neo tanks, and they're just slightly better MD tanks that actually economically, in terms of DPS per cost, end up worse off for you. So if you slap those into the Advanced Wars 1 missions, it wouldn't really change anything. It'd
Right.
just be like you'd have full feature parity across both games. So I'll be interested to see that too.
I see what you mean. Yeah, for sure. Um, there's also a new Mario plus Rabbids, Sparks of Hope. I thought the original was cool. I didn't expect it to be as good as it was, so it's cool that there's a sequel. They showed some new Skyward Sword HD stuff, which comes out next month.
Yeah.
Um, and to get to like the Zelda stuff at the end, one disappointing thing was like he said they don't have any Zelda 35th anniversary games planned for this year, so we're not getting like a bundle like we did with Mario last year, which is disappointing to me because
That's
I don't
fine.
understand how Twilight Princess and Wind Waker are not on the Switch right now. It just
Neither do
baffles me.
I, but like
Wonderful 101, like all these like obscure Wii U titles that are great, but like didn't sell a ton are on the Switch. Like literally Captain Toad, every Wii U game you could think of is on the Switch at this point. Except the three that I really want, which are
yeah.
Xenoblade Chronicles X, Wind Waker, and Twilight Princess. Like put those on the fucking Switch. Damn
Yeah,
it.
I think
Just do it.
probably the only reason that they haven't done it is because they don't want to distract from the new stuff that they have in the pipeline for Zelda, and they do have quite a bit. Like they have, like you said, they have the Skyward Sword remake. They have whatever they're doing with Dynasty Warriors, Zelda, Battle of
Yeah.
Zelda. They have
They don't
Breath of
want
the
to muddy
Wild 2
yeah.
coming in 2022, apparently, or at least that's what they're aiming for. And also, I don't know how well that Mario thing did for them. Like, I'm sure
Right.
it sold fine, but in terms of goodwill, I think that at
A lot of
least
people
on
were
Twitter,
mad.
it didn't. Yeah, I'm still kind of pissed off at it. It didn't really do good things for them, and I think that them going the Game and Watch route it makes more sense
I
because
loved that. They put which games were they? Zelda, Zelda 2, and Link's Awakening. Yeah,
yeah, the
that's awesome.
original. Yeah, that thing will
That's
be
really
cool.
cool.
And
Yeah.
it's definitely a better deal than the Mario one, which just had Mario on it.
I think it has Mario 2. I have it.
Did it?
It has Mario. Yeah, it has this it has the it has this yeah, it has Mario 2 on it. It's
Yeah.
Mario and Mario 2. Those are the only two games. But also games that are far less in depth than something like Link's Awakening.
Oh yeah,
Um,
like the Mario and Mario 2, I can plow through those games in like an hour a piece if I'm playing casually, probably. And
yeah.
Link's Awakening, like that'll you can get some time out of that game.
Yeah, you really can. Um, definitely. And Zelda 2 as well. Like that's another one you can get a lot of time out of.
And the first one, I'm also kind of surprised that like they didn't put Link to the Past on that thing. I don't know if it's it can't be a hardware issue because that the like I know the processor that's in there. It would be able to handle Link's Awakening. If it could handle Link's Awakening, all the stuff that they're doing with the calculator and the timer and whatever, it can totally handle a SNES game, I'd assume. So maybe it's just some sort of emulation thing, or maybe they just didn't want to burn that sale ticket yet, because this allows them to release the Game and Watch Zelda 2 with
Yeah.
Link to the Past and like the Game Boy Oracle of Ages, Oracle Seasons games on there. I don't know if I'm gonna buy this Game and Watch, but if they release a really good Metroid one or a Star Fox one or an F-Zero one, that'll never happen. Actually, no, the F-Zero one will happen, and that'll be it.
And that'll be it.
That'll be it. But
That'll be your F-Zero.
yeah, I'd buy any of those. I'm on the fence about the Zelda one. I might end up buying it for a gift for Danny, I think.
Yeah, I'm gonna get it. far too big of a fan of those games to not have that. I have the
When does
Mario
that
one
thing
as
drop
well.
anyway?
November 12th.
Ah, cool.
Yeah. And then that leads us into the final thing that they closed out with, and that was the Breath of the Wild 2 trailer. Apparently, I understand now why they are remastering Skyward Sword because there's all kinds of like sky cities and flying and all
Yeah,
kinds
I
of shit
saw
like that.
that. I was like,
Um,
I was looking at that. I was like, I hope people like this.
I am excited about it. I was hoping they wouldn't just stick to the Breath of the Wild map again, and just be like, okay, this is Breath of the Wild 2 with the same map.
Yeah,
Um, like I wanted new areas and new mechanics, and that trailer showed a plethora of new mechanics and new areas. So uh, the trailer definitely got me excited, and even the Breath of the Wild 2 trailer had gameplay in it.
yeah.
They didn't
There
go
wasn't a
all
crazy amount, but it
cinematic
had
with it.
some.
Yeah, they had like some new combat stuff in there. Some new like looks like time manipulation is going to be happening. Um, and he was like free falling from the sky. That was nuts. So
Yeah,
yeah,
Bethesda. If you've been working on Seinfeld for 25 years, you can show me some gameplay.
yeah, I know, right? Yeah, they definitely could have got away with like a little bit of
A
gameplay for
smidge.
Starfield. I don't know. But yeah, Nintendo nailed it, knocked it out of the park.
Yeah.
I was really, really happy. I was disappointed we didn't get a Switch Pro because I really want one. I think that the games for Nintendo at some point and already starting to a little bit are going to start to feel a little bit dated in comparison to the things that are coming out on the next gen consoles. I mean, Ratchet and Clank, like I said earlier, looks absolutely insane.
Yeah.
And going from something like that to something on my Switch directly is a little jarring.
Yeah, and
Um,
you can look at that Doom trailer that they showed, the Doom Eternal one, during the Switch presentation for the best comparison of that, because while that game runs well, it does not look nearly as good as it does on the other consoles or on PC. And I wouldn't expect it to, given the Switch. I think that Nintendo has positioned the Switch interestingly because while it started as a console, it can kind of retire as a handheld, and so a
yeah,
lot of those criticisms get minimized.
yeah, for sure, 100%. I agree. But I think like mobile processors are plenty powerful
Oh yeah.
enough to, and I think at this point we really do need we need an upgraded Switch for sure.
I do wonder if this next Switch, like, because people keep saying it's going to be the Switch Pro and it's going to be like, basically the PS4 Pro is what I think a lot of people have in their heads. Just an upgraded thing that makes the existing games look better but doesn't have any exclusives. I wonder if we're going to get that or if we're going to get like a Switch 2 that happens to be backwards compatible.
I think the longer we wait, the more likely the Switch 2 happens. You know what I mean?
Yeah, same. That is the only other reason I could think for them not announcing any sort of Switch Pro is that they're not sure if they want to do like they couldn't be not sure that if they want to do like a Pro model versus a Switch 2, or they could just be cooking a Switch 2 and everything that people have seen about the Pro has really been about that and it's not done yet. This is all just
Yeah.
idle speculation on my part. I don't have any magic leaks or anything.
Right, for sure. I know what you mean. Did you have anything else other than that? I think we touched on everything. Other than that, I
I did
think
want to shout out Devolver for giving NFT shit. That was funny. The
and
non-fuckable
it was a
tapes
whole
thing.
yeah, it was a hilarious conference. That was good. Yeah.
They always put on a good show, and they always have
Yeah.
something that I'm interested in. Although I can't remember anything specific, indie wise that really knocked my socks off. But also the nature of indie games is such that like it's hard to tell what they are until they come out sometimes.
Yep.
So I'm sure there will be something in that crop that I end up playing.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, like, who do we have left anyway? There's like, I think there's
Uh,
some Microsoft thing tonight that's some sort of showcase.
that was today during the day, and it
Oh
was
yeah,
just kind of like a deeper dive into some of the things that they announced. I watched a little bit of it. They announced Design Lab for the Series X for the controllers, which is cool. um, and showed more gameplay for Forza and Stalker 2 and Halo.
Nice.
Um, but yeah, I mean, E3 is basically over at this point.
Hmm.
And overall, I thought it was decent. A lot of things were announced, a lot of things were shown, not a lot leaked, which was cool. So there were a lot of surprises.
I
Nintendo again nailed it.
I
Microsoft did a
actually
great
like
job.
this is the first year where I've had to monitor a calendar for game releases that I can remember like in recent memory that wasn't like me being in like, at least high school or something.
Right.
So, and that's all due to Nintendo. And so I personally am glad for that. I think that despite the rest of the conference, Nintendo really definitely knocked it out of the park. I do think that the rest of E3 was kind of whatever.
It was meh. I
Like,
thought Xbox's showcase was really cool. I mean, they did show gameplay for games that are coming this year.
yeah,
Forza, Halo, Battlefield,
if
all looked
Nintendo
really
didn't
good.
exist, I'd definitely give them the brass ring, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Like
I
people were
am
knocking them
still
for
annoyed
all.
that they didn't drag Todd Howard's ass out at any points.
They did. He was like the first one on stage.
I missed it. That I
He
missed
was
the front of the conference.
he
So
had
shit.
he introduced Starfield. Yeah.
I'll have to go back and watch that then.
Yeah, he was out there for like 2 minutes maybe.
Oh yeah, any more exposure and reality starts bending.
Yeah.
They have to keep him in a special lead-lined chamber, and then they just like wheel him up to the stage, and he comes out of the box, gives the presentation, and then goes back in.
That's so good.
But yeah, Nintendo wins E3, and there you go.
Yep. That's it.
Was there anything else that you wanted to cover before we sign off?
Nope, I'm good. I think we're good to close her out.
Yep. All right. Thank you for joining us for the first video burrito. This is how it's going to go from now on. So, still going to upload these as audio too. Just strip the audio track out and stick it on iTunes if you're still consuming it that way. So, that's not going to change. But yeah, if you'd like to see our faces talk about video games instead of just listening to our voice, here's the place. So, we'll
Yep,
catch you
yep.
later.
See ya.